Here we got another example of objective reality conflicting with deranged lunatics' feelings. So clearly, objective reality must be retracted. Study that outraged twatter by concluding whammons do better with male mentors gets retracted. Uh-oh, can't handle the truth. Now, this reminds me of what happened in Australia a few years ago when they legitimately believed if you went 100% gender blind with hiring, then more women would be getting hired because they'd no longer be getting discriminated against. But of course, it ended up with more men being hired because they're no longer being discriminated against in favor of women. So they had to back it off. This is another one of those instances. And this is one of those things that everyone already knew for the longest time as well. Women just don't seem to get along. Women hate other women. Oh man, I think they even did surveys, I remember, where women admitted that they would rather work for a man than for a woman. But I guess that has to be retracted as well because, it offends some delicate snowflakes fifis. And now, on the flip side of this, though, before I get into the article, there's also the problem that a lot of guys, regardless of what the women want, a lot of men are no longer willing to mentor women anymore because all the guys are following the Mike Pence rule. They will not be in a room alone with a woman unless there's plenty of witnesses, and for damn good reason. Men are actually avoiding women in the workforce because of all the fake pound me too bullshit going on. So even if the women would want male mentors, they're not really going to get them anymore. So maybe it's for the best that we pull this study down, because otherwise they're going to start complaining that men don't want to have anything to do with them. So a study published by the peer-reviewed journal Nature Communications said that careers of female scientists who have had female mentors suffer as a result came under fire on Twitter from those outraged by its findings. All right, I'm going to drop some hard truths on you right here. Reality always wins. And the sooner you accept that, the less painful it's going to be for you once reality finally wins. It's possible to deny reality for a little bit, but eventually it will catch up. No exception. About a month ago, the journal directly reacted to this pressure by saying it would investigate as a matter of priority the paper authored by researchers from the New York University in Abu Dhabi, and the result now is that it has been retracted by its authors. Okay, the same side that always bitches about harassment and all this shit, they harassed these scientists into retracting their own paper. That's what happened here. These guys were harassed and bullied into retracting this paper because it goes against the ruling ideology of the time. But like others have said, retracting it doesn't make it any less true. But all this is going to do is hurt other women at this point, to be honest with you. And men used to care a lot more. Men used to actually want to help the few women who are willing to listen. Men felt sorry for all these poor young girls that are being brainwashed into these toxic ideologies and basically throwing their futures away. But after seeing so many other men get destroyed for trying to help these women, nowadays we just shrug like, whatever, you do you. If you're too dumb to see through this bullshit, natural selection's going to do its job, not my problem. And then by the time they're like 40, they finally learn their lesson. It's too late. I've mentioned that a few times, haven't I? All these articles I cover on my channel of older women who are writing entire essays about how they were deceived by feminism and all the mistakes they made, trying to warn younger women not to make the same mistake they did. And they're honestly, they're coming at it from a somewhat selfless perspective. They even admit, oh, I'm like 50 now. It's way too late for me. But for you younger women, don't fall for the same crap that ruined my life. And all those younger women just like, whatever, grandma, you don't know shit. And then when those younger women get to be 50, they're the ones writing those same essays. And the younger women are telling them, whatever, grandma, you don't know shit. After a while, you just stop caring, you know? There's only so much you can do to try to save morons from themselves. But no, there are decent women out there who can see through this bullshit before it's too late. And those who can't, whatever. Not my problem. I'm not the one that's going to be 50 and crying that I'm going to die alone because no one wants me. Yeah, again, if you're a feminist, look up that meltdown that Sinead O'Connor had a few years ago, because that's your future. And this is a woman who was divorced 4 times and probably turned down a shitload of decent men during her prime. She had so many chances and she threw them all away. And now she's crying because she realizes that no one wants her. Well, you did it to yourself. Previously, the study was criticized as controversial enough that it should never have seen the light of day. Yeah, because if the truth is controversial, it should never see the light of day. Well, what does this remind you of? Remember a time a couple hundred years ago where saying the earth revolves around the sun was so controversial you couldn't... I mean, dude, don't you dare say that. If you're lucky, you're going to be under house arrest the entire rest of your life. If you're not lucky, you'll be burnt at the stake. We're going right back to these times where the ruling religion of the time, which is regressivism at the moment, if the truth, if objective reality goes against regressive ideology, then the truth must be retracted. It must not be allowed to see the light of day. We're going straight back to the Dark Ages. And the same people who call themselves progressive are regressing us back to those times. The journal was reprimanded for a complete debacle, urged to retract it, and make sure something of this kind never happens again, as a biologist put it on Twitter. Okay, that's right. Just the sun revolves around the earth, and nothing like this can ever happen again. We can never have anyone claiming the opposite, that the earth revolves around the sun. Nuh-uh. This can't happen. The study's content and methods seem to be of less interest than the perceived consequence it might have as hostile to mentees and mentors and their careers in science. Hey, you know what? Fine. The study came to the conclusion that it's really women that are hurt by this. If you are so offended that you want to continue this cycle of women getting hurt and underperforming, whatever, not my problem anymore. Like I was just ranting about. I tried to help. I was basically told to go fuck myself. So, okay, fine. I'm just going to grab the popcorn and watch as you idiots run yourselves off that cliff like the lemmings you are. And don't be mad at me when I don't help you. I'm just going to laugh. I tried. You didn't want my help, so bye-bye. The paper itself was based on 200 million other scientific works containing records of millions of mentor-mentee pairs and made conclusions about the usefulness of these based on future co-authorships and citations. Well, again, then that would be interesting. How do you even how do you even organize that? Holy shit. It was one of the study's findings saying that current diversity policies promoting female-female mentorships, as well intended as they may be, could hinder the careers of women, which caused an uproar. So let me beat this dead horse again. The study itself even said this bullshit is actually hurting the careers of women. And women got butthurt, and they basically said, you take that back. Maybe the study's authors weren't actually harassed and bullied into pulling this down. Maybe they just shrugged and said, you know what, we tried to help these women. We tried to warn them that this wasn't going to help them. And they flipped us off for it. So you know what, you do you. We're just going to retract the study then. Whatever. You want to keep failing? You go ahead and fail. The authors said that they accepted some of the criticism for their method, such as inclusion of co-authorship as a way to gauge success of mentorships. As for the journal, it insisted the reason why the paper had been trashed was not because its findings caused emotional distress, as some found it distasteful. Yeah, there's no way they could ever admit the truth. They're going to make up a reason, as that could hardly justify removing the study, but that's the reason. But that on second look and after a priority investigation prompted by the expressions of discomfort on Twitter, they discovered serious issues in the methods. Of course, it's because the first reason, the emotional distress, as some found it distasteful, forced them to find serious issues. Because if they didn't find serious issues, they would be canceled too. Reports don't mention Nature Communications going into details of what those were, because there weren't any, past repeating the concern about the validity of co-authorship as a measure. Further addressing the problem of this type of paper, the journal's editor said they now have internal guidelines in place, helping authors navigate the minefield, and revealed that the hope is that future peer review also considers something defined as potential harm. So if the truth is potentially harmful to the ruling religion, it will be stifled. This is what's happening in the West. Meanwhile, over in China, they don't care about this crap. They're actually pushing real science. The people in the West who are actually real scientists trying to find real truth, not your truth, the truth. China is scooping them all up from the West. Every time one of these scientists gets canceled in the West for daring to go against the ruling religion, they have a job waiting for them in China. China's going to accept them with open arms. In the next generation or two, China's going to surpass the West when it comes to science, because the West refuses to do real science anymore. If it hurts some deranged lunatic's feelings, it has to be scrapped. Oh man, I am so excited to tell you guys right now that finally, after about a year of build-up and shilling, we have launched Blade Devil on Indiegogo, and so far it is doing so well thanks to awesome people like you. If you haven't backed it yet, then please check the links in the description and check out Blade Devil on Indiegogo. You will not be disappointed. Looking forward to seeing you there.